The cup hit my arm before I saw her coming. Hot, sharp, sudden. Coffee ran down my wrist, soaking the sleeve of the cardigan I'd ironed just that morning. The glass dish in my other hand wobbled, but I didn't drop it. I placed the cobbler on the table, careful not to spill anything. Erin gasped. "Oh my God, I'm so clumsy." Laughter broke out. Her sister covered her mouth. Someone said, "Guess that cardigan's seen its last brunch." I reached for a napkin, blotted my sleeve. My skin stung beneath the fabric, but I said nothing. I didn't meet their eyes, just pressed the napkin tighter and smoothed the edges of the dish. Darren stood nearby holding a plastic cup. His gaze flicked to mine, then away. Back to the floor. He said nothing. Erin was already talking again, something about signature cocktails and how she planned to upgrade the wedding menu. Her voice rang louder than needed. She reached past me to adjust the centerpiece, brushing crumbs toward my plate. I sat. Only for a moment. The chair was cold. The chatter buzzed. My wrist throbbed, but not from the burn, from what came after. I stood again, smiled, said I'd forgotten something in the car. No one stopped me. At the door, I paused to adjust the strap of my purse. It slipped open. Inside, a yellow tab stuck out from a sealed folder, tucked beside a folded grocery list and my driver's license. I zipped it closed, walked out. The sun hit hard. I crossed the street without looking. A car honked, then swerved. Didn't matter. I kept walking. By the time I reached the corner, I could still hear the laughter. Not cruel, just distant, like they'd already moved on. I looked down at my sleeve. Coffee had dried into a faint stain, like a watermark on paper. I pressed the fabric once more, then let my hand fall to my side. That night, I stayed up folding laundry. Then I packed a few things into a small duffel bag just in case. I didn't know it yet, but Darren was coming the next morning. I opened the door before he could knock again. Darren stood there holding my duffel bag, the same one I'd packed last night. He didn't look me in the eye. "Mom?" He exhaled hard. "Erin and I think it's best if you find your own space." He held the bag out like a delivery man, like something he didn't want to carry anymore. I didn't take it right away. I looked past him down the hall where the morning sun streaked the floor. The house was quiet. No footsteps. No kettle on. My hand found the doorframe. I kept it there steady. It gave me something to lean against, not for my body. For the rest of me. He shifted. "It's not personal. It's just, things are tight. We need to make room. You understand, right?" I nodded. My hand stayed. He placed the bag inside the doorway, not quite over the threshold, then stepped back. He didn't wait for me to respond. Just muttered, "You'll be okay," and turned around. I watched him walk away. The silence after footsteps always feels heavier. I looked down at the bag, then back inside the hallway. The rug was crooked from his shoes. A coffee cup sat on the side table mine, and beside it, a small brass key. Not the house key. That one was already gone from my chain. This one was older, to the shed maybe, or to the lockbox I hadn't opened in years. I didn't pick it up. I zipped the duffel tighter, slid the folder with the yellow tab deeper inside. Then I stepped out. The door didn't close loudly. It clicked soft, like it didn't want to be noticed. Outside, the wind cut sharp. I pulled my coat close and walked. Past the bakery, past the post office. Down 2 blocks where the motel sign flickered like it always had. The room was small, but clean. I unpacked in silence. Folded everything into the drawers. Hung up my cardigan stain and all. Then I went back out and asked the man at the diner if they needed help in the kitchen. I scrubbed pans until my hands ached. Hot water, bleach, grease that clung no matter how long I soaked. The cook, Ray, barely spoke. Just grunted and pointed. But at the end of the shift, he handed me a foil-wrapped wedge of pie. "Cherry," Didn't sell. Take it, he said. I nodded, took it with both hands. Said thank you. He didn't answer. On the walk home, I passed the alley behind the diner. She was there again. Same spot. Same hunched shoulders. Hoodie pulled tight face, mostly hidden. I stopped. Unwrapped the pie. Broke the crust in half. Held one piece out. She looked up. Didn't flinch. Took it. Nodded once. I didn't speak. Just set the rest down beside her on a clean patch of concrete. My fingers brushed the ground. I wiped them on my coat. Not out of disgust. Just habit. She didn't say thank you. I didn't expect her to. The next night I did the same. This time I added a folded napkin. On the third night, she looked at me longer. Her eyes were clear. Too clear for someone sleeping on pavement. She said nothing. But she nodded again, like she knew me. Like she'd seen me before. I kept walking. The room smelled like soap and old carpet. I turned on the desk lamp, sat open my notebook. Wrote 2 lines. Ripped the page out. Lit a match and watched it curl to ash in the sink. No one called that day. No missed texts. No forwarded mail. The room was silent. I wrapped the second piece of pie for tomorrow. Set it gently on the dresser next to the mug I brought from home. Then I lay on the bed shoes still on and closed my eyes just long enough to forget where I was. The phone rang before sunrise. I grabbed it on the second ring, still half asleep, still tangled in last night's thoughts. Mrs. Hanley, a clipped voice asked. We're calling to confirm the transfer request on your property file. I sat up fast. Transfer what? The deed adjustment you submitted yesterday. I didn't submit anything. A pause. Paper shuffling. We have a signed form on record. I hung up. No goodbye, no clarification. Just the click that split the room in two. I went straight to the drawer beneath the bed, pulled out my safety folder. The yellow tab should have been on top, documents inside, arranged the way I always kept them, birth certificate, deed, copy tax slips. But the folder was empty. Not misplaced, not mixed up. Empty. I locked the door, turned the bolt twice, then sat on the floor, lowering myself slower than usual, as if the air had thickened. My breath thinned. My ribs tightened. I pressed one hand to my chest, the other wrapped around my phone like it might steady me. The name on the caller ID still glowed. Bank of Monroeville. A forgery meant someone had practiced. Someone had taken time. Someone who knew my handwriting well enough to mimic the slope of each letter. Someone close. The next afternoon after my shift, I carried a small paper bag down the alley. 2 slices of pie. Still warm. The woman sat where she always did, back against the brick wall, legs pulled close for warmth. Today, her hood was down. Her hair was streaked gray, but her eyes were sharp. She watched me approach, then said, before I could hand her the bag, never sign anything your son hands you with only one witness. I froze. She didn't smile, didn't explain. She just looked at me like she'd been waiting to say those words. I didn't answer. Didn't ask how she knew I had a son, or that he'd asked me to sign anything at all. I simply set the bag beside her. 2 slices, not one. Her fingers brushed mine through the paper. I turned and walked back toward the diner, the cold settling deeper into my coat, into my breathing, into the quiet I carried with me. That night, I wrapped another slice to take with me tomorrow. I handed her the pie. No words, just the usual motion bag to sidewalk fingers, steady gaze low. But this time she didn't reach for it. Instead, she looked up. Straight at me. Then pulled something from her coat pocket, a folded sheet of paper, creased, worn at the corners. Meet me tomorrow, she said, voice low, like it might set off alarms. I have something that will change everything. She held the paper toward me. I took it with both hands. Bank letterhead. My name printed at the top, a scanned signature that looked like mine almost. Too clean, too neat, the slope of the L too even, the curl of the S too perfect. And beneath it, Darren's name, his signature. Real, a property transfer authorization, one I never saw, one they said I'd approved. I blinked once, didn't flinch, just let my eyes close for a second longer than usual, then opened them again. You knew, I said. The woman nodded. Nina. I used to process these. I didn't interrupt. She kept going. I watched sons take homes from mothers. Husbands move assets without a word. You learn to see it. Same names, same lies. Why me, I asked? Because I saw the date on the file, and I recognized your name from that check you signed for the waitress tip. Small town. She stood slower than expected. Not weak, just cautious. I've got more. Bank copies, internal memos. He thinks it's buried. It's not. She nodded once, then turned and walked out of the alley, like someone who still remembered how it felt to wear heels. I stood there for a full minute before I moved. Slipped the paper into my coat. Walked the long way back to the motel. That night, I turned on the lamp, pulled the red folder from my duffel. The one marked Rain. I copied the document, numbered the corner, slid both sheets into plastic sleeves. Then I sealed the folder shut again. The edges felt heavier now. Not just paper, weight. I set it at the bottom of the drawer, locked it. Then I wrapped 2 slices for tomorrow. I slid into the booth before they arrived. Ordered coffee, no cream, no sugar. Darren walked in first. Erin followed, lips already pursed like she was bracing for bad service. They sat across from me perfectly in sync like they'd rehearsed it. We're really glad you reached out, Mom Darren said. I smiled. Small, careful. I've been thinking, maybe it's time to move on from the house. I want to make sure I do everything right. Erin perked up. That's great. We brought the new form. It's simpler. She pulled out a crisp envelope, slid it across the table. I didn't open it, just rested my hand on top. I don't understand some of the wording, I said. Can you walk me through it? Erin lit up. She always liked being the smartest in the room. Sure. This clause just confirms you're releasing your claim. And here this part clarifies that the property isn't encumbered by liens, which of course it isn't. She talked fast. Practiced. Her voice syrup smooth, but her eyes flicked to my fingers when I didn't pick up a pen. I nodded, pretended to take it in. And Darren, you're sure this is how Dad wanted things? He looked up too quickly. Yes, of course. It's what Dad would have wanted. His voice cracked on the last word. Barely. I didn't respond. Just blinked. Once. Slowly. Under the table, the phone in my coat pocket recorded every word. Erin took a sip of her iced tea. Smacked her lips. We can get a notary this week. Make it all official. I laughed lightly. Sounds like a plan. My hands stayed folded on the tablecloth, but I scratched once lightly at the inside of my wrist. The skin was still a shade darker from the coffee burn. Funny what sticks. We split the check. Erin offered to pay, but Darren beat her to it like that would soften things. I thanked them both. We hugged at the curb. I didn't flinch. That night, Nina and I sat on the floor of her motel room, her laptop warm between us. She clicked once. The file played back clear as glass. Time-stamped. Clean. We saved 3 copies. 1 for me, 1 for her, and 1 for someone else. I tore the envelope before I even read the name. Thick cardstock, glossy print. My son's name embossed in gold. Darren Hanley & Co. invite you to celebrate the launch of Ridgeview Development. A cocktail hour, a dinner, speeches, business casual. I sat at the table, pressed the card flat with both hands, read every line twice. There it was, buried near the bottom, made possible by our family legacy and early support. I didn't need to guess. I opened the drawer, pulled out the red folder, laid it beside the invitation. Then I flipped through the copied forms, the audio transcript, the forged signature. He'd filed them. He assumed I wouldn't check, wouldn't fight, wouldn't notice. I set everything aside and reached for the kettle, boiled water, measured the grounds, poured slow, steady into the ceramic mug I'd brought from home. The scent filled the room, sharp, bitter, familiar. I didn't drink it, just watched the steam rise. My hand didn't shake. The envelope, now empty, sat beside the mug. I picked it up again. On the return label, a tiny print address in East Bridge, the same street as the notary Darren once called just a friend. He always underestimated how closely I listened. I placed the invitation back inside, pressed the flap closed, then stood and crossed the room. The calendar on the wall still had only one mark, a dentist appointment from 2 weeks ago. I grabbed a pen, circled the date in red. Then I sat at Nina's old laptop, logged into my email, and sent one message. Just one. Subject line update on property fraud matter. Recipient Anderson and Cole, LLP attachment audio file. Forged document. Statement of intent. No explanation. No emotion. Just facts. The kind that don't need anything else. I shut the laptop. The mug still sat untouched on the table. Steam fading, surface calm. I picked it up and poured it down the sink. I stepped onto the stage before anyone could stop me. No announcement. No introduction. Darren was still holding the oversized scissors, smiling at the photographer. Erin's hand clutched his arm, nails digging in as she noticed me. I didn't speak, didn't wave. I simply held out the red folder. Nina moved through the crowd. Phone raised, recording. She took the folder from my hand, opened it without hesitation, and cleared her throat. Documented forgery, she read. Misrepresentation of elder property transfer. Unlawful notary stamp. The microphone caught every word. The chatter died. The string quartet stopped mid-note. A glass clinked somewhere in the back, then nothing. Darren's smile collapsed. His eyes darted to the crowd, then back to me. He looked smaller, like the suit had suddenly grown around him. Erin whispered something sharp at his shoulder, but he didn't answer. A reporter pushed forward. Mrs. Hanley, do you have comment? Were these documents used without your consent? I didn't lift the mic. I didn't meet his eyes. I only kept my hands in my coat pockets. Fingers curled around the lining. Nina read the last line, an internal memo, with the notary's signature block missing, and closed the folder with a soft snap that seemed loud in the silence. Security glanced at each other, unsure. Guests stepped back, clearing a path without being asked. I turned. No rush, no hesitation. Just a steady walk down the small wooden steps, past the banners, past the catered tables, past the faces that suddenly pretended they hadn't greeted me at the door. Behind me, voices rose, reporters, guests' questions, but none of it touched me. Near the curb, a black sedan waited. The passenger window lowered just enough for the lawyer to nod once. Not approval, not sympathy, acknowledgement. I kept walking. The air outside was brisk, cleaner than inside the event hall. I reached my building, climbed the stairs, and unlocked my apartment. The place was dim, quiet. I set my coat on the chair, filled the kettle, and turned on the stove. The metal clicked as it heated, steady, rhythmic. When the water began to stir, I reached for my mug. I silenced the phone after the third call. It buzzed again, Darren's name. Then Erin's. Then unknown. I didn't pick up. The voicemails came fast. Erin's voice swung like a door in a storm. First soft, "We didn't mean for it to go this far, Lois." Then sharp, "You've humiliated the entire family." Over what a form? She didn't say fraud. Didn't say theft. Darren didn't leave a message. He never did when he was unsure of what to say. I poured coffee. No sugar, no cream. Just hot. The mug warmed my hands. I carried it with me to the desk, sat down, and opened the envelope marked Final. Inside, my revised will. 2 pages. Clean. No property to Darren, no shares in anything. Just 1 line to be distributed as per attached letter of intent. I sealed it. Signed the flap. Slipped it into a larger envelope addressed to Anderson and Cole, LLP. At the mailbox, I slid it in, pulled the red flag up, then I waited. 10 minutes later, the mail truck came. The flag dropped. Done. I sat on the porch with my mug and let the warmth soak through my palms. The street was quiet. Leaves shifted. A car passed without slowing. The phone buzzed again. I didn't move. Inside the table held only one thing, now the original deed retrieved from the bank, stamped retained in clean black ink. Not voided. Not transferred. Not stolen. Held. By me. I reached for the window, pushed it open wide. The cool air swept in, carrying the scent of dry grass and pavement. No sound followed. No apology. No more questions. Just quiet. I folded the dish towel, placed it neatly beside the sink, and watched the light shift across the counter. Shadows stretched. The room softened. I poured the last of the coffee into the mug. No spills. I twist the burner. The flame catches fast. The kettle whistles before the light finishes changing outside. I don't rush. I take down the new mug ceramic, thick-rimmed, deep brown glaze. My name etched near the handle. I bought it myself. No more diner cups. No more styrofoam lids. No more rinsing out the same plastic one behind the sink. I measure the grounds. Let the bloom rise. Pour slow. Let the steam curl up toward my face. I wait, then lift the cup. The first drop doesn't spill. Not a tremble in my fingers. Not a shake in the wrist. Just the heat. Solid. Right. I breathe in. No perfume, no aftershave. No leftover scent of someone else's kitchen. Just this coffee window light, the hum of the fridge, and my own full breath. I carry the mug to the small table by the window. Sit down without sound. Outside, the street is quiet. No one rushes. No one yells. Just a jogger. A crow. A leaf dragging itself along the concrete. On the sill beside me, an envelope rests in the light. Cream-colored. Thick. My name written in Darren's handwriting. The return address matches his new office suite. I haven't opened it. I won't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. It sits there like a held breath, waiting to be invited in. But I've learned not every knock deserves to be answered. I bring the cup to my lips. Drink. Slow. The silence stays. And it's enough.